Hey again. So today I wanted to talk about navigating changes in general, which is something that is very present in my own experience right now. So it's kind of interesting to talk about it as it's happening, but I feel like it can be a nurturing, helpful thing for me, and by proxy, probably a nurturing, helpful thing for anyone out there who's going through the same thing. So I thought I'd share with you some ways that I try to navigate change and, get through it. Change is probably the one thing we can rely on being constant and always happening, which is sort of ironic and contradictory. We can always count on the fact that things will change. Things are always changing around us. We are changing physically. The world is always in flux and changing. Change is just something that we are constantly facing. When we're undergoing huge changes with either people in our lives or with ourselves, it can be overwhelming and it can be difficult to transition through those events. One of the first things that I have to remind myself often that really helps me is to go with the flow of it. And it's something that we hear all the time and can be kind of cliche to the point where it's frustrating, but accepting the changes that are happening is going to make it easier for those changes to work their way through your life. Often there are things that are out of our control, or the changes that have come up for a reason. They might have been conjured up from deep inside of us from years back, things that we've desired for a long time, things that we've been working towards, and then they're finally happening. They could be things that completely throw us off our trajectory and catch us off guard, like events happening around us that we have no control over. It could be a major change with us. We might be shifting internally for some reason, or unraveling a part of ourselves that we've kept hidden for a long time or forever. And it could be changes with people around us, with people that we love, with family members, going through different things, changes in relationships. So whatever it is, it's best and easiest to accept that it's happening, even if that just means, taking a breath and telling yourself as often as you can that this is the reality, this is what you're having to face, and you can't resist it. You can't change it. You can't reel it back and prevent it from happening. So it's best to just accept and surrender to whatever is happening, and that will make it easier to get through it and find the strength and energy to persevere. Also, it helps to know that change is temporary. Nothing stays the same, and so any change that we are going through or witnessing is also not going to stay the same. Whatever chips have fallen will settle, at least for a period of time, until the next change happens. But the discomfort that you might be feeling about the change and the resonance of the change itself and the difficulty around it, it's temporary and it will pass, and you will get through it and you will come out the other side. Something that really helps when a lot of things are changing around you and are in flux is to find some consistent grounding rituals and practices that you can do as regularly as you can, maybe daily. That can be helpful because, you may just feel so unfamiliar and have difficulty connecting to your life again and finding your footing and figuring out where you stand. Something like meditating daily, or going for long walks by yourself, or taking a bath every day, which is something that I tend to do. Even if it's that you have the same meal every day at the same time, or maybe you are going to bed at the exact same time every day. Just something that's consistent enough that you can re-engage with it at some point in your day and feel like this is something that isn't changing. This is something that I can rely on. And it's best if it's something that's obviously in your power. Having that activity or ritual that you can do consistently and remind yourself that things are still the same in that front, that can really help you to ease sort of the chaos and lack of familiarity you might be feeling with the changes going on. One thing I find that's been helping me lately is finding moments that completely remove me from the changes that are going on. So when a lot of change is happening or when we're shifting, there's a tendency, at least for me, to be very open about it, to talk a lot about it, to explain it to people, to reflect on and analyze it all the time. And it's okay to, sort of covet and keep inside some of the things that you're going through while you're going through them, and to talk about them when you're ready. It can be really overwhelming to have to explain to a lot of people what's happening while it's happening. It can be hard when you're going through changes to not have it be at the forefront of your mind all the time. What really helps is just to find moments of time where you can completely forget about it, and that's a form of escapism that can be medicinal, and it's very intentional, so it's different than escaping from something because you're completely avoiding it. Maybe go to a movie or a comedy show, or watch something that makes you laugh, or something that makes you forget about your situation for a while and think about a completely different situation that's out there. It could even be a drama, and you're saturated in someone else's lives for that time being, and that could even give you some insight. But what's best is even looking at something that can elevate your frequency and your mood. So laughing is truly the best medicine in this scenario, and if you can step outside of everything that's going on for a few moments in time and laugh, it can help your body release a lot of the tension that you might be going through, and give you that moment of, okay, there's still joy and laughter and excitement outside of whatever's happening. Like, we're so in it all the time when things are changing. So stepping outside of it and just feeling joy for the purpose of joy, and play for the purpose of play. There's so many resources out there about how crucial play is for our well-being. It's something that animals do, obviously children do, and as adults we tend to slow down on that front. So finding ways to play, even if it's an activity that requires like mind-body coordination, or physical activity, or something that just gets you to stop thinking about what's going on with you and your life, that can be a really nurturing thing. Another thing that helps me with change is to try to find the silver lining of whatever it is that you're undergoing or facing. And as difficult as some changes can be, there is always something that you can find in the situation to inject with some positivity, even if it's a lesson that it's teaching you or something necessary that had to happen. Hindsight makes it easier, because looking back at a lot of times where I've gone through great change or had things happen that I didn't understand at the time that were difficult to go through, I can now see what those things meant for the trajectory of my life and how important they were for getting me to where I am today. So even looking at some of the changes you've been through in the past and using that hindsight to see that at that time when you were facing a moment of despair or grief or anger or frustration with whatever it was that was changing or that you were going through, to then see how that contributed to where you are at this moment today can help inject some fuel into the change that you're navigating right now. And change can also be an exciting, beautiful thing. There can be changes that you're facing that are something that you've always wanted. They're a result of something you've desired and manifested, and you're simply having trouble accepting it and taking it on. We often face these kinds of situations where something we want is finally here and we don't want to mess it up, or we're afraid to step up to the challenge, and we doubt ourselves and we stop ourselves from accepting that happiness. So there might be something really beautiful and exciting in that change. That change might be a blessing that you're just having trouble accepting. So sitting down and reflecting on the purpose of that change and the positive thing that it can bring into your life can help you kind of flip the perspective on it and see it in a different way. At least one thing that you can say about change is that it's not boring. And if you ever struggle with feeling stagnant and really comfortable in your life and dissatisfied or bored, that's a state that we don't want to live in all the time either. We don't want to live in chaos, but if you have been in a place of no movement and not much happening and not doing the things that you want to do with your life and preventing yourself from enjoying your life, change can be a welcome shakeup to all of that. I know that for me, I've had periods of time for a year or two where I've gotten extremely comfortable with the same routine and start to sort of wind down on the things that are unique about me and the desires that are coming up in me, and things suddenly happen and shift and throw my life into flux, and it can seem really scary for a while. But when I look at the period of stagnancy that happened before it, it's sort of like, okay, well, it kind of makes sense that this shakeup happened because I was just on a path of inaction. Another reminder that I give myself often that's really helped me through changes is reminding myself and remembering that my core essence of who I am is the same, and that is something that is not changing. While my earthly self is going through changes and might be unpeeling different layers of expression, the core of me at my soul level is and has always been and will always be the same. In this life, my soul is this constant presence that knows who she is and knows what she wants and knows what she needs to do. And it's my earthly self that might struggle with that or unravel it in layers or approach it in bits and pieces until she's comfortable for the next challenge. So especially when the change is with you and something internal that you're going through, like you might be shifting in terms of the way you are, the way you behave, your routines, your values, it can feel destabilizing because you feel like a different person, and everybody around you might see you as a different person and struggle to acclimate to you. So it can really throw you off course and make you feel like things are all just unfamiliar and scary. Reminding yourself by tuning in or just affirming to yourself that you're still you no matter what, and this might just be an expression of you that's truer to who you are, that can be a comforting thing to get you through a change that's much more personal. So I kind of touched on this before, but another thing that really helps me navigate change is remembering and knowing that I don't have to explain it to anyone at any point until I feel ready to. I'm very much an open book. I'm a pretty vulnerable person, so like I wear my heart on my sleeve and I will tell people what I'm going through. But sometimes when a change is happening, it's okay to keep things internalized or keep things to yourself until you're ready to speak about it. Putting things into words can be tricky. As soon as we put it into words and put it out there, it's out there for people to dissect and manipulate and talk about and give feedback to, and everyone naturally wants to react to something you've told them and give you advice. And sometimes when you're in the midst of a change, those perspectives can be really confusing and make things feel more chaotic and more unfamiliar and more out of balance. Just being cognizant of when I'm ready to speak is helpful for me, especially if these are changes that are still difficult to explain, even to myself, and difficult to understand. It can help to talk things through. It really is an act of listening to yourself and just making sure that you're not crossing any of your own boundaries. And you might feel like you're speaking too soon and saying too much if it's bringing up a lot of anxiety for you and making you feel more confused and chaotic to hear a lot of people's feedback. Then you can sort of pull back and give yourself the time and space to reflect and self-soothe and just sort of go through the process until you are ready to speak. And then if you are internalizing or keeping things too bottled up and you're not speaking to anyone and that's giving you anxiety and you're starting to feel very lonely and confused within yourself and in need of some guidance, that's when you might know that speaking to someone will be helpful. At the end of the day, change is something that we all go through at certain points in time, and there are bigger and smaller instances of change that we have to navigate through. But it always leads to the next step or iteration that is right for us or that we're supposed to be in. So as hard as it might be in the moment, it helps to just remind yourself that this is a natural part of life. That's just the way that energy works. And feelings pass, discomfort passes, things that are changing will start to feel familiar again at some point in time, even if it feels like that point might never come. We do acclimate. We're such an adaptable species, and we're really good at adapting to change. So there will come a point, even if you don't feel it right now, where you wake up and feel like yourself again, or your life feels like your life again. It's just a matter of taking it day by day and being patient with the process that's happening, staying as positive as you can and open. So that's about all I have to say about the topic, and maybe I'll do more on this in the future if I've learned more from my own experiences. But as I said, it's something that's really present to me right now. If you want to connect with me, I have more videos on different topics that I feel called to share about, like anxiety and sensuality. I even have a meditation on sensuality that you can try that can help you with change, because meditating helps. You can find me on Instagram at SuzBubs. I post there a few times a week and do a lot of writing. So if you like my videos, you'll probably also enjoy my Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good day.